Okay, awesome. We are recording and let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's executive committee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 10:03 a.m. And before we begin, we're going to start off with a territorial land acknowledgement. Let's remind ourselves that we respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie First Nations. And ceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and that we are currently situated on occupied territories. We're now going to move on to the roll call of attendance. When I call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and if you have any access needs that need to be met. So just by going in order, I will start with myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her. All my access needs are met. Let's move over to our VP internal.
Hi, everyone. My name is Judith. She, her pronouns. All my access needs are met.
VP finance.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby. He, him pronouns, and all my access needs are met.
VP UAA.
Hi, my name is Nikki. She, her pronouns. I'll have my camera off today, and I'll try my best to be attentive and everything during the whole thing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. VP external.
Hi everyone, my name is Ishana Baran, pronouns she, her. I'm calling in from the stolen and unceded lands of the Katzie, Semiahmoo, and Kwantlen First Nations, and all my access needs are met.
Okay, thank you. VP events. VP events.
I think they just dropped another call.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's hope that the vibe of re-enters. Oh, well, okay. Let's move on now over to our society staff. Let's start with our board organizer.
Hi everyone, this is Ella. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and all of my access needs are met for today.
All right, thanks for being here, Ella. Over to our building manager.
Hi all, John here, pronouns he, him, his, all my access needs are met.
All right, thank you. Our operations organizer.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha, pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
All right, thank you. Our PRCA is not here today, so let's go over to our administrative assistant.
Hi everyone, my name is Fanny, pronouns are she, her, and all of my access needs are met.
Great, thank you. All right. Now that the roll call of attendance is done, we're now going to move over to consent agenda. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here. Okay. We're going to go over to the consent agenda. As you can see, we have matters arising from the minutes, which is from our June 14th executive committee meeting. The motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. So with that said, I am going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by indicating using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, Nikki, you have a point of information?
Is this where I would add in ratification of regrets?
No, you would do it at the adoption of the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing that there are no dissents, the consent agenda is carried. We are now going to go over to the adoption of the agenda. Item 5.1, the motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP finance.
VP finance moves and someone to second.
VP internal.
VP internal seconds. I'm now going to open the floor for discussion. I will start off with my own set of amendments. Before I hit the speakers list, okay, everyone's popping off here. That's great. Awesome. I will start with myself. I want to add a section 12 to the agenda titled announcements with two announcements. First announcement will be item 12.1. Leave of absence for the VP Equity and Sustainability. And item 12.2, I want to just add an announcement titled next scheduled executive committee meeting. The second amendment I want to make to the agenda is to add a discussion item. It'll be item 9.2 on the agenda, and it's going to be titled SFSS Communications and Social Media Best Practices. So let's move. So I'm moving my amendments. I'm just going to ask for someone to second my amendments.
VP Internal.
VP Internal seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this amendment to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, these amendments are carried. Back onto the original motion, and now we're going to hit the discussion list again. Ishana, you have the floor.
Hi, yeah, can I add a discussion item called gondola updates on the SFSS website, please?
Great, awesome. So we're going to make that 9.3, okay?
Yes. Do you want me to put that in the chat?
Yeah, you know what? For accessibility for everyone, that'd be great, Ishana. Thank you.
Yep.
So I'm just going to make a note of that on my end.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Ishana moves that amendment. May someone second this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds, opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this amendment to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this amendment is carried. Back onto the original motion and back over to the speakers list. Nikki, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have 3 discussion items to add. So I would like to add, the first discussion item is regarding a working group for mental health and well-being of the executive committee and council. And then the second one is an internal communications working group for the executive committee and council. And the third one is actually related to increasing student engagement and outreach within the SFSS working group.
Okay. I'm just free writing this in my copy of the agenda.
Also, ratification of regrets from the 21st June 22nd executive committee meeting.
Okay, increasing. Give me one moment here. Increasing
Thank you so much.
engagement. Okay, then just trying to figure this out here. Okay, let's add section modification. Sorry, Nikki, I'm going to scroll up the chat here because I think you put it all in here.
I just
Ratification of regrets for June 21st executive committee meeting. I think I'm seeing things. Nikki, we didn't have an executive committee meeting on June 21st.
Yeah, that's what actually one of the questions I had, because I had got an email about it. So I don't know if it ended up happening or not happening.
We did not have one, so I'm not going to add that to the agenda.
Okay, glad, thank you.
Okay, all right. So the amendments that Nikki has brought to the table are item 9.4, mental health working group, 9.5, internal communications, and 9.6, increasing student engagement. Nikki has moved these amendments. May someone second these?
Finance.
VP Finance seconds, opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we will take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the amendment is carried. We are now going to go back over to the original motion and back over to the speakers list. Abby, you now have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to move to amend the agenda to add a discussion item titled Canadian Federation of Engineering Students Event.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to second this discussion item?
Events.
VP Events seconds, opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we will take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this amendment is carried. We are now going to go back to the original motion and opening the speakers list once again. Vaibhav, you have the floor. And thank you for coming back.
Oh yeah, I just I just got it. So I have, first of all, my name is Vaibhav and my pronouns are he, him, his. Access needs are a little shaky today, so I might be keeping my camera off. Amendments, I have 2 amendments to change kind of. I'll move to add a presentation by SPC. And second will be a presentation by Bounce platform.
Presentation. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. Vaibhav, can you please title your presentations and put them in the chat here so I can see? Okay. Okay, Abby, you have a point of information?
I don't know if this is the right way, but Vaibhav, do you have people coming here to present? And if so, could you please just let me know their names? Because we do have a couple people in the waiting room. I just want to see if these.
Tom and Victor.
Okay, I don't see a Victor, but I do see a Tom, so I'll let them in.
Let's let Tom in.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's do this amendment by adding a section 6, a new section 6 to the agenda titled presentations. And then we'll have an item 6.1, presentation by SPC. And then 6.2, presentation by Bounce. May someone second this amendment?
Finance.
VP Finance seconds, opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we will take this amendment to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this amendment is carried. We are now back to the original motion. Does anyone else have any more amendments before we carry on with the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any movement in the chat, so it looks like we should take this to a vote. The motion now reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Opening the floor for discussion again. Seeing none, taking it to a vote, seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried as amended. Okay, so now with the amended agenda, we're going to go ahead with the presentations. Tom, hello. Thanks for waiting patiently in the room. We're first going to start off with our presentation item 6.1, which is presentation by SPC. So Vaibhav, I'll let you have the floor. And I guess, Tom, are you coming from SPC to talk to us today? Yes,
correct,
okay. Yes. And do you have a PowerPoint to share for us, or?
I have one, I can, yes. If you'd like, yes, with an intro to SPC.
Sure. Okay, then I will give you screen sharing powers or co-hosting powers for the time being. So I'll make you a co-host. Okay, you should be able to share your screen then.
Okay, perfect. Is everybody familiar with SPC?
For the most part, we had a discussion. We had a discussion at the last exec meeting about it.
Okay.
Also, just in the interest of time, sorry, yes, we can see your screen. Just in the interest of time, perfect. How long do you think you'll be presenting for, Tom?
I've got a hard stop at about 13 minutes, so we'll fly through it pretty quickly.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
No worries. So SPC, we're a loyalty program for students across Canada. I've been doing this now for almost over 30 years, actually. So our mission really is to deliver exceptional value to students by giving them discounts on relevant services and retail experiences that they desire. And then in turn, we help our retail partners by helping drive new customers. So our breakdown, we're mostly college, university students across Canada. It's 18 to 24 and a little bit more female skewed, but we're adding more dining partners and QSRs to attract more males as well, and sporting. Let me see here. Why are they flipping through? Okay, so our membership is now $11.99 per year. And really what happened was this past year, I think as I was mentioning just about it earlier, really this last year, a bunch of campuses contacted us because they wanted to offer student SPC to their students in lieu of not being able to really provide additional services due to COVID and everything being closed. So we came up with this kind of value proposition for campuses because the schools that ordered last year, what they realized is not every student opens up their school email necessarily on a regular basis, or if the schools wanted to get the students into the student association office to learn what the student association provides, campus was closed again. So we kind of came up with this idea that we would take on the distribution. So the membership, as I say, is $11.99 this year. Using it once at Adidas, you've already saved $38. So the idea is the students are going to get their money back in more on one purchase. It is valid for an entire year from the date of activation. There's about 450 partners right across the country that accept in-store and online. So there's all kinds of categories for the students to save. Shein is one of the big ones now that's actually come into play. They're an e-com partner. And yeah, so there's a ton of food, entertainment, apparel, electronics as well. And some of the offers here, pretty straightforward. Now, the portal idea we had, so the original idea back in May when we first started chatting with Simon Fraser was the student would come onto this portal, select the university, there would be certain points of verification, but then it'd be like their name, their email, maybe their student number. Not a lot of student associations have access to that information, so we kind of took it back and really simplified it, and it seems to be going over very well with a lot of student associations. So the student would just select their school, type in their school email address. We would send a verification email to that school email address, so the student would have to be able to access it. And then once they access their email, they're able to set up their account, and essentially they would get access to all of the offers and deals. And the big benefit that we can do now as well is we're actually able to co-brand these memberships as well. So rather than powered by Virgin Plus, it might say courtesy of, and then the student association. And your students to be reminded that they're saving money through the entire year because they chose Simon Fraser over UBC or VCC. That's the pitch in a nutshell. Depending on the quantity of memberships you were looking at purchasing, essentially it all goes through the portal. If it's like 30,000, for example, it would be $4.50 per membership for the year, and that's basically a third of what the retail price is now. We also have some schools that are looking at just purchasing for first-year students as well, so maybe a few thousand. That would be more of a data file. But we're very flexible. Any questions?
So that's your whole presentation, Tom?
Nice and quick and easy. Yeah, I think I gave some VIPs back in May. I'm not sure if they were circulated to everybody, if everybody had a chance to try it out.
Yeah, I believe see thumbs up from Abby, but I believe they were was sent over to us, and we just need a little bit more time to review things. But I'm going to open the floor for executives if they have any questions for Tom at this time.
I did speak with a school earlier this week that actually their executives are going on a trip next month, and they ordered their flights through SPC, and they saved like $1,100 immediately.
Very cool. Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, Tom. Thank you for the presentation. One of the questions that I had, I think when Vibe Up was actually talking last about the SPC card to the executive committee, was about how the fees would be charged to students. So I'm wondering, and I assume that this would be something of where each student is charged a flat rate in their, like, whenever they're registering for classes that term, regardless if they use the SPC card or not. And the idea is that it probably would be a low enough charge that people wouldn't really seem to care to opt out. However, I think, like, for ethical reasons, it would be preferred if students can opt out if they really choose to want to opt out of the SPC card. So I'm just wondering if that can be an option for students if they really want to opt out.
So right now, the schools that we're going to be working with this fall, none of them are actually adding this to the fees because they didn't have enough time to actually go through a referendum. And I think the rules vary depending on the school and the city and the province. So what we're looking at, like, there's a couple of schools in Ontario that are assuming that probably about 30% of their student body would take this up. So we're kind of looking at it that way as of, okay, so 30% of your population would be this amount. So this would be the amount that we would sell you, and then anything over and above that take rate, SPC will absorb, because we really just want to kind of get this up and running and kind of prove the concept out to a bunch of schools. So I think there's probably about 3 or 4 schools right now that are confirmed, and they're going to be doing it probably for anywhere between 30 and 50% of their student population. So which I guess would preclude the necessity to opt out if we're only looking at a certain amount of take rate.
Okay, I'm going to keep moving down the speakers list. Ishana, you have a question and you have the floor.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for your presentation. So my question is that you said the price right now, was it $11.99 per month? I mean, per student?
Per year.
Okay.
Yeah, per year for.
Okay, so then does that price ever get raised? Like, will it always be that price, or like in the next year, can that price go up for students?
We actually just raised it on Monday from $10 to $11.99. So this is our first price increase in, I'm going to say, probably about 4 years.
Okay, still moving down the list. Nikki, you have the floor again.
Yeah, so I think this is a really important question, and it's been something I've been wondering about, like, for the structure of these kinds of organizations, not just exclusive to SPC, but for a lot of different organizations. I'm just wondering, like, how do you guys actually make money, like, from the whole thing, right? And also, like, do you take, like, data from students? Like, how does it, I guess, like, what are the underlying factors in that way?
Sure. So probably about 80 to 85% of our revenue comes from membership sales. We do charge some activity fees, or fees with retail partners as well, and that allows us to keep the price for the membership low to the students. But most of the membership comes from that, from the actual membership sales. In terms of data, we've actually just updated our privacy policy, but we work with CIBC, for example, as well, with their student banking platform. So yeah, we have all of the privacy policies in place for the data. In terms of students signing up, you can actually go through when you get the VIP. It's really just looking for name, address, email address, and the school you go to. We do get aggregate data on spend from members, but nothing identifiable to each individual student as well when they're using it in retail or online. And we use that really to make sure we're providing the best services for our students and make sure that it's something they're interested in.
Okay, let's keep going down the list. In the interest of time, I'm going to say that we stop the list at my list, so then we can move over, because I see, Victor, you're here to do your presentation for us. So in the best interest of time, we'll stop the speakers list there. Now we have Vaibhav. You have the floor.
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Tom, for the presentation. And since I've been in touch with you for like so long, it feels good. But just a quick question. I've been using your services for like last month or so, since you provided us with a couple of codes. My main question here is your services sometimes are inaccessible on some kind of deals at those vendors that are specified in the list, right? So what are your plans to kind of cover everything from their services? Because it is, like whatever I purchase at like some of the vendors, those items are not included in the discount. So I would really appreciate it, like if you can elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Is it the particular item you're purchasing, like that might be excluded, like a specific shoe at JD Sports or something like that?
Yes, something like that.
Yes. Yes. So we do have that. It's a lot better the last couple of years than it was, say, about 10 years ago, because retailers now just really want to make sure that they're keeping their customer experience optimal. But we do take a lot of feedback we get from students. We go back to the retailers and try to make it as open and accessible as possible. One of the biggest changes we made the last year or so is actually just even adding omni-channel to make it convenient for the student to order at 3 in the morning or when the mall is open. So yeah, we're constantly trying to improve offers and gathering feedback from our members and taking it to our partners.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Vibe Up, you have a direct response to what Tom was saying, I believe.
Yes. So since like again, it's a really big expense for us as a society. Is there any sort of guarantee or any sort of like layout plans, confirmation, what like we can see to kind of have a confidence and that the services will be getting improved lately? Because once we get in a contract or something, it is really hard to kind of work around things then. But that's why I just want to like put it in the first hand. If you can, tell me more about it.
So ultimately, the offer is dictated by the retail partner. The biggest way to affect that change is to have all of their competitors have open, easy access for the students to use, and then they tend to follow because they need to remain competitive. But yeah, we're constantly changing offers, updating offers. We're adding new partners. We just added the shoe company this week. Actually, I think it's 118 stores across Canada. There's a few QSRs adding. So yeah, we're constantly trying to improve the offering and make sure it's the best experience, because it's in everybody's best interest that the student has a nice, seamless, frictionless experience using the product and getting what they want.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then I'll end it off with my question. Since you mentioned, Tom, that there was a few schools that you all have been helping out and providing these services to, I was just curious, which schools have you been providing to?
So Brock just renewed. They purchased memberships last year. They just renewed and purchased more for this upcoming year. Brock University, yes.
Okay.
University of Ottawa is supposed to have a contract today, but I think Roger's internet is down, so we're probably not going to get a lot of contracts until Monday. There's also Waterloo that's really looking at doing a much bigger buy for everybody on campus, and we're actually going to be providing monthly active user stats too, for not identifiable to the individual student, but just an aggregate. This is what the percentage of your student members are using, online or in store as well, just to make sure we're maximizing the value that everybody's getting from it. So those are the three to come to mind. There's also University of Regina that's very close. I think that'll probably be happening by next week. And then Nova Scotia Community College, which I think is 14 campuses, if I remember correctly. They're looking at doing this as well. So there's a bunch of them that we're talking to.
Okay. Okay. Great. Good to know. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. Feel free, you can always leave the meeting. You don't have to stay for the rest of it. So thank you for coming out. Vibe Up, thanks for getting Tom to come out here. We appreciate all the information.
Sounds great. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. Great. Let's move down the agenda. We now have item 6.2 on the agenda, which is presentation by Bounce. Victor, welcome. I'm going to give you co-hosting permissions because I believe you might have a PowerPoint to do for us today.
Yeah, so in terms of that, in terms of, an actual presentation, I just kind of like wanted to show you guys the platform, that kind of thing.
Sure. Give me one moment here.
No worries.
Okay.
I also kind of need to
There we go.
in about 20 minutes or so, so I'll make this nice and brief, but we should be able to get through everything. So should be good.
Awesome. Well, you now have co-hosting permissions, so you have the floor. Take it
Amazing.
away.
So just to introduce myself, my name is Victor. I'm a recent grad of UBC. I'm essentially, the growth lead for Bounce, which to its barest minimums is a social ticketing and payments platform, which started out at Queen's University in 2019. So essentially at UBC on its own, I obviously started a year ago as a growth lead for, I guess, our campus, that kind of thing. And then ever since, we've actually onboarded over 10,000 users at UBC alone. Everything from, small birthday get-togethers to academic workshops. And now it's obviously being used in nightlife in Vancouver as a way to manage guest list as well. So in terms of that, obviously there is like a lot of functionality for pretty much everything on campus. In terms of any event that you may need, whether it's a paid event, a free event, anything academic related as well. That is essentially the barest minimums in terms of what we actually do. So that's the platform side of things. In terms of what we do besides that, we are essentially the middleman between various corporate companies as to the events themselves. So often, a lot of students on campus say they want to throw an event at a venue per se. We are essentially, we use our partners downtown, for example, in Vancouver, to essentially segue that in order for, said club to essentially like throw an event at that place within, a reasonable amount of time. So that's pretty much, what we do besides, the actual platform side of things. So I don't necessarily have an actual PowerPoint to show you guys, but I do have the platform on its own to show you. So I can just share my screen here. One sec. Sorry guys, one sec. It's not letting me share the screen here.
It's not letting you share?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. It could be my computer, but let's see. Oh, that's really strange. Okay.
Should I try maybe, I'm not quite sure what to do here. I maybe remove co-hosting powers and then just turn them on again for you maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe the platform is not supported by Zoom.
No, I think it might just be like the actual like screen sharing option is just not allowing me to actually share the screen.
Interesting. I'm just gonna try just to remove co-hosting permissions and I'm gonna try again, okay? Just one sec here.
Sounds good. Yeah, it very well could be, I guess, like
Okay.
I'm using someone else's computer right now, so it very well could be like a privacy thing on settings, but if we don't have time to, get to it, that's completely fine. I can kind of just walk through it. If I have like a presentation here that I can kind
For
of.
sure. If you want to try one more time, I just gave you co-hosting permissions again. If you want to try one more time, go for it. If not, we'll roll with the punches then.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to find one thing here and then we should be good to go. Shoot, yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna work. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that's another option as well. I can actually share with you guys a short presentation here. I can just copy and paste it and put it in the chat here. So if you guys are able to open that, I can kind of step through all that together.
Okay.
I don't know if it's easier for you. If you want to maybe screen share the actual presentation, I could walk through it from there.
Yeah, like, hang on. Let's see. This is, oh, okay. Oh, great. This is actually really cool. Let me do that for you then. This, that. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Sorry for the inconvenience, by the way.
No. It's all good. It's all good.
I am using someone else's computer right now, so.
Okay, I'm gonna click share. Are you able to see?
Yep, are you guys all good?
Yeah, okay, thumbs up, awesome, great. So I'll just, you let me know when to click the slides for you, okay?
For sure. So yeah, this is essentially, what we use, I guess, or what we send out to various groups that, essentially are using us for, their various events, services, that kind of thing. One thing I would like to mention as well is this is a free to use platform to not only host events, but also to, as a guest yourself, it obviously doesn't require any monetary charges to actually, sign up. You can pretty much sign up using either your Facebook, your email, or your phone number. So it's very, very quick and easy. So essentially we wanted to create a space where, as a student, you should be able to find exactly what you need in terms of events on campus. You're able to add friends on the profile, as well as see what events your friends are going to, because at the end of the day on campus, you obviously want to attend the things that your friends are going to, right? And that's pretty much why, a couple years back when Facebook events was just very, very dominant. And, nowadays it's, a lot of the content that students our age are using are, things like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, that kind of thing, where there's no real event space, right? So the actual event space overall has become like extremely fragmented, where obviously you can promote your stuff on Instagram. A lot of people, a lot of groups do still do that, right? But to actually, find an app where you can actually go on and see what events your friends are going to, and then from there purchase a ticket within 3 clicks. That's essentially the backbone of the platform. So if you we can kind of step through, I guess, like various tips and tricks that we have on the app. So yeah, if you want to skip to this slide here. Okay, so I guess we'll just dive into a bunch of different stuff here.
Oh, sorry, do you want me to go to the next one?
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, all good.
Okay, so private events here. So essentially, without actually showing you what the platform actually looks like, there is going to be a social dashboard. So you can actually access events via 2 ways. So for one, and obviously the most common one, is to actually go through your news feed, which is going to be where all of the activity, I guess, between, your friends on the app, that kind of thing, that's where it's all going to live. So I could see, for example, that Helen is going to this event. I could click on the event, and then from there, obviously attend that event within 3 clicks. So that's obviously going to be the more public way of doing that. In terms of private events, as a host, you do have that functionality to make sure that your event does not show up for everyone to see, essentially. So we've seen that being used, especially for, meetings like this, right, where you can actually integrate Zoom meetings as part of, the actual event. You can see which, members, for example, of said exec committee are attending. And it's a great way, I guess, for, an RSVP method where you could essentially have more of like an actual management of who's attending such event. So obviously it says here, private events are only accessible to certain amounts of people. And then from there, you can only access those events via a private URL. So say, for example, you guys have a group chat for, your exec committee. You guys are going to a retreat, for example. Obviously, you don't want non-execs to come. So all you need to do is put the event link in your group chat, and then from there, people can RSVP from there. So that pretty much covers that. So we actually do this quite often with a lot of philanthropy groups that we work with on campuses. So obviously, you know, you guys say you guys are hosting an event, for example, you guys are working with said charity, right? We actually include tip-in donations as part of the ticket. So say, for example, a ticket to an event is $10, right? It'll kind of look at the very end of the checkout as if it was like an Uber Eats tip, where you can choose anywhere between $0 and essentially whatever you want, which will essentially be tacked on to, I guess, the price of the face value of the ticket. So, you know, we've seen this, obviously this is an example here, but you know, groups have run like raffles, stuff like that. And it's a great way, I guess, for you, you know, on the management side of things to at least, you know, have an idea of who's tipping what, that kind of thing. And it's a great way to consolidate everything into one place. So that kind of covers that. All right, so obviously you guys are very familiar with, you know, most event companies. Obviously, in terms of the barriers and minimums, we do include, you know, a variety of, you know, ticketing tiers. So you can add up to 6 public tiers, each with their own capacity limits. So you can limit or, you know, obviously max cap each ticket tier to your specifications. So you can include anything from early birds to, you know, VIP service, table service, that kind of stuff, whatever way it kind of fits your needs. You can obviously customly name them, that kind of thing. And you also have the ability to add unlimited private tiers. So by that, I mean, obviously, a public tiers are going to be accessible by pretty much anyone that views the event for the first time. And to actually access private tiers, you would need a private code in order to access them. So normally what groups on campuses will do is, say, for example, you know, SFSS is throwing an event for a school, right? Obviously execs would get a discount to that event, that kind of thing. So then obviously, say, for example, Helen or whoever your events coordinator is would essentially give you guys the code to access that cheaper ticket, which is obviously not visible to everyone. And then you guys would be able to, you know, actually purchase those tickets at a cheaper price. So one thing I would like to mention as well is obviously, you know, with pricing tiers, you're obviously able to see how many of each ticket has been bought, that kind of thing. So say, for example, with a private tier, you know, you guys are giving them to execs, that kind of thing. You can see how many execs haven't gotten a ticket yet. It's a great way, I guess, to, manage your event in that sense too. So that kind of covers that. Okay, so yeah, we kind of just went through this as well. So yeah, in terms of that, obviously, you know, private tiers, there's unlimited amounts of them. So even if you wanted to, you know, do a giveaway or something like that, you can obviously spin up a, you know, a free ticket for whatever winner it was. So that's a good example there. But I think we can skip beyond this one. Yep. Cool. Okay, so I guess whoever the events coordinator is here, obviously, you know, as well as I do, it's extremely difficult sometimes to, when you're, you know, organizing an event, that kind of thing, to actually like gather info from guests, that kind of thing. Say, for example, you guys are hosting like a banquet or something like that. You guys obviously need, you know, dietary restriction information from everyone. You need like t-shirt sizes, whatever kind of event it is. If you would like, we actually include it as part of the ticket. So I don't know if you guys remember like Facebook events, but obviously, you know, you would obviously have that going and attending feature, right? But say you guys had, you know, a Google form, for example, where everyone needed to fill it out, right? To actually chase down people to actually fill that thing out is extremely annoying and difficult, right? So we actually included it as part of the ticket. So when you actually are attending an event, say, for example, you do need t-shirt sizes from everyone. We added a simple question or an entire Google form if you do have multiple questions to actually get that information from guests. So that's essentially what this slide's for. So this kind of goes through, I guess, you know, obviously this video here, this is from Michigan. We threw an event with Frank Walker, who's a DJ. It's it's very hectic, I know. But essentially what this kind of, slide goes through is the idea of FOMO. So obviously the fear of missing out is something that a lot of college kids, very much care about. Yeah, so essentially, the guest list is, I guess, a very, very big functionality of our platform, right? So when you're hosting an event, right, you can choose to actually include that guest list as part of, the actual ticket. So I could go on to an event and see, every single person that's going, right? Big question here is obviously if you prefer not to have, your information, I guess, like actually on the event page, that kind of thing. You can choose to actually, not have your name there. Besides that, obviously this kind of goes through, I guess, a tip where you can actually, if say your event is 3 weeks out, obviously your ticket sales are not going to be as strong in your first week as it is your last week, right? So essentially what this is saying is try hiding the guest list for the first little bit. And then from there, once you publicize it, you'll see essentially like a big spark in ticket sales because people are like, oh, like, 10 of my friends are going, I kind of want to go now too. So.
Sorry, over to the next slide, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say I'm really, really sorry for like looking confused and smiling.
No worries.
On my end, there was just like really loud rap music playing when I hit this slide. So I freaked out a little. I was like, is this, can you hear it? Is everyone
No
hearing
worries.
it?
Yeah, no. I just imagine if I was just like trying to talk over it. I actually couldn't hear it, but my apologies. It is kind of loud, but.
No, I'm so sorry. That's why I was like,
No worries.
out a little bit there.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't, do anything to your eardrums, I guess, for everyone else too, but. Okay, amazing. So membership fees. So this kind of, obviously, the focus is, event ticketing, that kind of thing. But one group, it's called CVC, which is very similar to, one that we are starting to work with out at SFU. It's called the Chinese Varsity Club at UBC. One thing they've actually used the platform for is actual membership fees. So one thing they'll do as a way to actually consolidate and actually be able to see like who actually is a member, that kind of thing. They'll actually spin up an event page for just members or memberships, I should say. So obviously I mentioned, the private tier functionality beforehand, but what they'll actually do is if someone, obviously prefers to pay via bounce, right? Obviously they have a transaction saying, I paid $20 for a membership for the year, that kind of thing. And then obviously if someone wants to pay cash, there is that functionality where they can essentially create a private tier for $0. And then that way that person's ticket would be associated with, paying cash, right? And from there they have, obviously a consolidated method for, essentially everyone that has a membership, but just paid in different ways. So that's essentially what this slide's for. Okay, so in terms of actually like scanning people into the events themselves, it's always a big question. You obviously want to make it extremely efficient. So in terms of this, there's actually a functionality called operators, which are essentially going to be very similar to a co-host aspect. You guys remember that on Facebook events, that kind of thing. So you can add up to 8 operators on the app. All you need to do is actually search up that person's profile on Bounce. And from there, you can actually simultaneously scan people in once, say, for example, you guys have multiple shifts, that kind of thing. And then from there, obviously, this is also a one-time QR code scan as well. So say, for example, someone, sends a screenshot of their ticket to someone else. It'll actually show up as saying this ticket has already been scanned. And then from there, you guys will obviously be alerted for that too. So. Okay, so this kind of goes through, I guess, the idea of, consolidating all of your guest information, that kind of thing. So you can actually do this anytime before, during, or after your event has ended. So you can actually download an Excel sheet, which kind of goes through all of your guests, information in terms of email, name, what kind of ticket they got, as well as how many people actually scanned into the event. So that's kind of like where the management side of things does, come really into handy. So say, for example, you sold 300 tickets, but only scanned in 200, right? You could obviously use that information, I guess, for your upcoming event, where you can kind of adjust how many tickets you actually want to sell to the public. So that's kind of what this slide kind of goes into. But okay, so this is actually something we added in very, very recently, but we actually do have a discussion section as part of the actual event page, which obviously is not something that is very commonly used in a lot of ticketing platforms. So obviously we wanted to create a space where there is increased host to guest engagement. So say, for example, you guys have a time change to the event, or say, for example, you want to show off, I guess, the things that you have at the event before, attendees arrive, that kind of thing. You can post photos, videos, that kind of thing. Even like small reminders before everyone shows up, that kind of thing. So what'll happen is once you, for example, post something on the actual discussion feed, everyone that has a ticket will actually get a notification saying that, for example, Helen just posted in the event. And then from there, they can obviously click on the actual event page and see what she posted. They can like it. And yeah, it's great, I guess, to, ensure reminders for everyone as well. So.
Victor, just in the interest of time, do you know how many more slides you have left in that Canva doc?
I think we have about 5.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay, I want to make sure that everyone gets time to ask you questions as well,
For sure.
before we continue to move down our agenda. So 5 more slides. Awesome.
So this is actually something that not a lot of people know about the platform as well, but you can actually send money between one user to another, called P2P, person-to-person payments. So say, for example, you guys are selling food at an event, that kind of thing. My phone dies, that kind of thing happens. And someone, buys me a drink or something at one of your events. They can simply, send me money via the app within 3 clicks. So I can look up, someone's name. I can send the associated amount of money that, I pretty much owe them or they owe me. And then from there, it'll actually show up in my bank account as almost an instantaneous transaction within a day, essentially. So that kind of goes through this stuff. So obviously, events are, a lot of times they are social. A lot of the times, at a lot of social events, especially on campus, right, is going to be, drinks involved, that kind of thing. So we actually incorporated safety features as part of the app, which is something that, not a lot of ticketing platforms do. So what'll happen is once an event has ended and you've obviously attended, once you log on to the app the next time, you'll be prompted at least to say how safe you felt at the event, that kind of thing, as well as leave any comments for not only, I guess, the hosting side to be aware of anything, but also for us on the back end to essentially, be able to see that kind of stuff too. So obviously Angel Shot here is, another, obviously another app that's not ours, but it's obviously recommended for event hosts too. So. Okay, so I kind of went through this already, but essentially once an event has ended, your payout for, say you host a paid event, that kind of thing, it'll actually show up 5 to 7 days after your event has ended. Very, very common in a lot of ticketing companies, but that's kind of what this goes into. Yep, so kind of went through this as well. Yeah, just in terms of feedback, that kind of thing from each event. So. Oh yeah, this is probably really loud as well, but I'm sorry about that, Helen. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the presentation. That's Loud Luxury at one of our events in Michigan as well. You guys are probably familiar with them, but yeah, that's pretty much all of, what I wanted to show you guys. I wish I had the chance at least to show you guys the actual platform itself, but it's obviously available on the App Store as well as Android. And yeah, you guys can go see it for yourself. Happy to answer any questions as well. So.
That was it, right? I'm sorry, there was loud music again, so I did not hear anything you said there.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, amazing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. Okay, Victor, thank you so much for that presentation. In the best interest of time, let's open the floor for discussion for the next 3 minutes. So around 11:01, we should wrap up. So I'm going to open the floor for anyone who has questions for Victor. Okay, Ella, you have the floor.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Victor, for joining us today. I had a few questions just on the administrative side. About information retention, when obviously the platform does take in this information from students, how long do you keep the information on the platform? Is it, I wanted a little bit more information around that.
Yeah, so in terms of what we actually collect and what they essentially are, okay, sure. Yeah. So I can actually, after this, I can kind of send you like a more like detailed response in terms of like going the nitty gritty in terms of like what we actually collect, that kind of thing. But in terms of what they actually provide in the app itself, it's email, name, and obviously the banking information itself is there, but it's also a part, and I can just kind of spin this up here, one sec. Let's see. I might just be obviously reading this word for word because I'm obviously not like an expert on this kind of stuff. But so the question here in terms of payments, are payments safe? Yes. Bounce uses Stripe, which is a multi-billion-dollar financial services company. It's PCI compliant, and it's pretty much like the industry standard for, you know, things like I know Shopify uses it, as well as Amazon, that kind of thing. But besides that, in terms of information, so we obviously take security very seriously. Obviously, everything is SOC2 compliant. Obviously, I'm not like an expert in terms of what that means, but essentially, we are MongoDB and Google Cloud, which are both multi-billion-dollar businesses that obviously provide things for SAP, Adobe, Barclays, that kind of thing. So essentially, I know Google Cloud is pretty much our main source of, I guess, you know, making sure that, you know, all of our engineers are obviously building something that, you know, works really smoothly and is extremely safe. So.
Okay, awesome. And that would mean that your headquarters is based out of Canada then, or based out of the United States?
Yep. So we do obviously use a lot of, you know, services and partner with a lot of, I guess, like big companies from the States, but our headquarters are actually in Toronto right now.
Toronto. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
And then I had another question. So you had mentioned Forms as a platform that's accommodating to obviously Bounce. Do you have any other, so us internally, the administrative department uses JotForm. We do also use Forms, but we use JotForm primarily. Would that be something that would be kind of cross-platform? Would that work?
Yeah, so in terms of actually like integrating it as part of, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, in terms of, you know, what we've seen work so far, like obviously, you know, you guys are, you know, free to use like whatever you guys like to use as in terms of, you know, creating feedback, that kind of thing. In terms of, I guess, integrating as part of the actual, you know, platform, that would mean that it's like obviously accessible to pretty much everyone. So that's probably something we can't do on that end. But say, for example, you guys do want or would rather prefer, I guess, using another platform for actually collecting feedback, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's completely up to you guys as well. So you don't necessarily have to use this Google form aspect. It's also a feature. It's not necessarily something that's required for each event too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Victor.
Were those all your questions, Ella? Yeah? Okay. Let's end it off with me. So yeah, Victor, thank you again for coming out here and doing that presentation. Just by looking at that PowerPoint and listening to the music in that PowerPoint too, I can definitely see that there is a utility for the platform. I think for me, I'm still in question about the functionality of it. And I know you wanted to screen share and show, I guess, how it works, but obviously that didn't work out. So we had to revert to this PowerPoint presentation. I feel like maybe you already answered this, but you said earlier that you provide these services to UBC, correct?
So we're currently scaling over a dozen campuses across North America. So
Okay.
in terms of Canada alone, we call them anchor schools. So they're essentially like big universities, like obviously UBC, Queen's, Western are like our main three.
Okay.
And then we also do things at, you know, periphery schools as well. So smaller schools, some even like community colleges, that kind of thing. Because obviously, you know, a lot of the times people at community colleges have friends that go to, you know, these big campuses, that kind of thing. So that's kind of like how we, I guess, approach, you know, Canada alone. I would say those three main, you know, big universities are where we're mainly focused, right?
Okay.
But we actually have worked with a decent amount of groups out at SFU as well. So obviously you guys are probably familiar with BASS, as well as a few fraternities out there, as well as the finance club, that kind of thing. We've all thrown events with them as well. So at least this
You
year.
already have.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, in terms of, I guess, getting in the nitty gritty, so BASS obviously is, you know, the business administration club. They reached out to us because they wanted to throw an event at a venue. So they essentially talked to me. I pretty much got them in contact with 12 West, which was the venue they wanted to use. And they essentially sold tickets through our platform. So that's essentially what we did for them.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's all I wanted to ask. I was just curious about that. So, okay. Abby, I will allow this list and then we need to move on with the agenda. So Abby, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just a quick question, Victor. I know you said you worked with BASS. Did BASS sign any sort of contract with you regarding that, working with them, or was this just kind of some sort of a trial kind of basis kind of work you were doing with them?
That's actually a really, really good question. I did really want to dive into that as well. So essentially the way that we kind of, you know, approach clubs, like school clubs, campuses, that kind of thing. So we actually do have a contract, which essentially kind of just goes through pretty much everything I talked about, talks about the fees, that kind of thing. Often, you know, obviously I didn't mention this in the presentation as well. But we also do provide like a decent amount of, like, we call it bounce swag. So obviously we'll provide a lot of like our merch to you guys, like the execs that kind of like run the school, that kind of thing. So it kind of just goes through everything that we provide to you guys. It's not also like extremely like, it's not like not flexible as well. It's pretty much just saying, just use the platform as much as you can in terms of, you know, free and paid events. We actually do have something else called a letter of interest, which basically is pretty much the loosey-goosey version of the contract. So that essentially is just a one signature, you know, document, pretty much saying like, you guys as SFSS are interested in using the platform. These are how many events we kind of expect to use it for. And it's obviously more of like a trial run. So that's something that's a little bit more non-binding, I would say. Whereas the contract obviously lasts a year. And then obviously if you guys, you know, don't want to continue using the platform, you know, next year, for example, there obviously is that ability to, you know, let us know at least 30 days, you know, before that contract expires, because it automatically rolls into the following year. So obviously, according with the contract, another question that I get a lot too is obviously, is there any monetary contribution that, you know, we require from you guys? The answer is no, right? We obviously are built for campuses, and we want you guys to be able to have a platform that, you know, obviously resonates well with your students, that kind of thing. So that's essentially like the big thing with that. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Victor, again, for coming out here and providing us with this presentation and the information. I'm going to ask that you share with Vaibhav any other information that might be good for our knowledge when moving forward. And then maybe Vaibhav, I'm going to suggest either we hold like a separate meeting with the executives, not an executive committee meeting, maybe just like a 1-hour discussion on this, or just any of the presentations for that matter. And then we'll figure out what we can do with this at the next executive committee meeting. So this is not on the back burner. So yeah.
Awesome. And then in terms of, I guess, just for my timeline, I'll try to get this to all, or I guess like different documents, that kind of thing. So I'll kind of see you guys what the contract will look like, what the letter of interest will look like, as well as like any like additional information too. You know, obviously that being said, like I really, really wish I could have shown you what it actually looks like. But you guys can obviously, you know, go to the App Store and, you know, take a look yourself. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to send it to you by the end of the weekend. Does that sound okay?
Yes, that's wonderful.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. Yeah, that was awesome. Nice to meet you guys as well.
Nice meeting you too. You take care.
Yeah, you as well. All right, have a good one, guys.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Victor.
Bye.
Awesome. Great. Let's we have to get through our agenda, but we've been sitting down here for a bit. Would everyone like to take, I'm gonna say maybe like a 3-minute break. Please come back at 11:12 and we're gonna get started with, we're gonna go in camera by the time we return. So see you at 11:12. Shake your legs out and yeah, we'll do that. All right, welcome back everyone from our short break. We are now going to continue moving down the agenda. The new item 7 or section 7 on the agenda is in camera, which means we will be going into breakout rooms and having a discussion in confidence. So item 7.1, the motion reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP University.
VP University moves and someone to second it.
External.
Okay, VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. I am just going to preface this that I will be inviting our non-union excluded management into the in-camera session today. So just for everyone to know that. Okay, seeing that there is no more discussion, let's just take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. All right. Fanny, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just a question. Are we inviting Aisha to this conversation as well?
Yes, but the thing is, I don't know where she went. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I see.
Oh, she's in a meeting 11 to 12. Oh. Okay. Abby, could she come for a bit? Abby, Vice Chair of Executive Committee, can I get your opinion?
Yeah, we kind of need Aisha, so I think we should move on to new business and discussion items and come back to this.
Okay, we can't go to new business without going in camera, though. That's the thing.
We can suspend the rules.
Okay, I'm just gonna see before even taking down that route or going about that option. Ishana, you've listed yourself.
I was just going to say what Abby was going to say. So, yeah.
Okay, so I know we did this before. I'm gonna need your help, Abby. Just remind me of Robert's rules here. Okay, Ella, you've listed yourself.
Yeah, I just received a message saying that she is in a meeting regarding the matters pertaining to DNA.
Okay,
So she said that she'll be able to jump back in as soon as that meeting is over.
okay, all right. So could we hop into the discussion items? That's what I'm thinking. So Abby, can you help me out here with what we should do?
I'm not 100% sure what it is. I think it's PM 1.2, if I'm not mistaken, that we need to suspend, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay,
Double check.
so if we suspend the rules, right? We need a mover, a seconder. Do we open the floor? Judith, I saw you unmuted. Can you help me?
Yeah. Yeah, so what you're gonna do is you need to move to suspend the rules. And then you're gonna say, I'm going to suspend the rules and move discussion items to X area instead of Y area. You will need a mover, a seconder, and you will need a 2/3 majority.
Okay. No discussion, right?
Move to suspend the rules. I don't know if it's debatable or not. I might be confusing the call to question. I
Okay.
can check if you give me a sec.
Okay, Abby, can you also please announce what is 2/3?
Thirds of how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be 4.
4 out of 6. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm lagging a bit.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you for helping me out because we just love having fun with Robert's rules. Okay, so okay, so someone needs to suspend the rules. Can I just move to suspend the rules here? I'm just going to move to suspend the rules. Suspend the rules to move section 10 discussion items to what will now be section 7 in the agenda. And then everything will move down by 1. So I move to suspend the rules to do that. May someone second this?
VP University.
Okay, VP University seconds this. We now need to take a 2/3 majority vote. And as Abby said, that would be 4 out of 6 executive members to basically approve this. So since we're a small group, all in favor of suspending the rules, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 4, just so it's on the record as well. I'm also in favor of it. So that's 5 out of 6, which is a more than 2/3 majority. So we're now going to look at what is the new section 7 on the agenda. Lower your hands, everyone. Thank you so much. It is now going to be discussion items. So we are now looking at item 7.1. Executive representative for social committee. It was brought forward by Judith. So Judith, you have the floor.
This was actually something that Aisha added me to add to the agenda, but I believe it has to do something with a committee that's struck within both staff, and we're supposed to get an executive officer in there representation as well. If anybody's interested in that, I think that'd be good to speak to Aisha about, because I believe we did get an email a while back as to the staff members who are on the committee. So it's something I want to flag to the executive, and I think Aisha did as well. Unfortunately, she's not here. Yeah, I think if we search in our emails, we can find more information about it, but yeah, go ahead, Ella.
Oh yeah, Ella, you can go for it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thanks for waiting on me.
No
Thanks.
problem. I can give a little bit of context. So last year, the first social committee was kind of revamped to start, organizing more social events within the society and having staff more celebrated, essentially having, staff celebrations, having our Christmas or our holiday celebration be planned a little bit earlier. So last year was a little bit more ad hoc, and I think Aisha was looking for a little bit more structure in this year's social committee launch. So the social committee composition now is our member services events, our building, one of our building coordinators, a communications coordinator, one at-large member of staff, the operations organizer, and there's one position left for a member of the executive. So I think the ask here was having one of you, this would be specifically pertaining to the events, the VP events portfolio, but if one of the rest of you are really, really interested in, participating in SFSS social committee organizing, that opportunity would be placed there for the executive. So in this, it was more democratic in the, the large member of staff. They had to put in their bid and go through that case. But if anyone would like to volunteer, that would kind of complete the composition for the social committee.
Okay, opening the floor for discussion here. Oh, Ella, are you still speaking or?
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Going down the speakers list, Abby, you have the floor.
I was going to say, if no one else is interested, I'll do it, but it looks like there's a couple of listening after me, so I might just retract for now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Abby. Shana, go for it.
I was just going to ask how often the meetings were, but if other people are interested, they can go for it. I just listed because no one else was.
It's a good point. Like it's a good thing to note, actually, so everyone knows how much time they'll have to commit, because we are all busy executives for that matter. So Ella, do you know how much time we would have to commit for this committee?
I don't believe that the first meeting has been out yet. I'm assuming that this would be bi-weekly. That is a very broad assumption because this conversation hasn't been done. I'm assuming it would be bi-weekly, but it really would just be mainly the organizing around, letting the MSC events know what to do, carrying it out. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Bi-weekly, most likely.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Ella. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just have a clarifying question. So are these events purely for like staff members, or is it like more like, is it like a general like events kind of, I guess, like what's the scope of the event planning or social planning?
Okay, Ella, you have a direct response to that?
Yeah, it would be mainly internal, and it would mainly just to help build more of a collaborative kind of workspace and to get us more social and more interacting with each other.
Okay, Nikki, you have a direct response?
Thanks. For clarification, is that kind of like between both like staff and like execs and council? Like, is it kind of between all groups, or is it mostly like within just staff as the scope?
Ella, you have a direct response.
It would be staff and executive.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would like to nominate myself, I guess. Then I'm interested in that. I'm really into and appreciate like team building and working together. I think that's one of my biggest values in a team. So I would love to bring my expertise there, and also good intentions and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Ella, I don't know what the process is with staff in terms of bringing an executive on, but I think you can note that Nikki is interested. And I do also want to put it out there that since I am working closely with staff too, and coordinating staff meetings as well and sharing them for that matter, I'd also like to be involved, but I can be involved in anything at any point for the most part. So just keep that in mind as well. Great. Thank you. Let's cut off discussion here on that, and we're going to move down the agenda to item now 7.2. It is what did I title this as? My apologies. I wrote it down here. Okay. So item 7.2 for discussion items, it's titled SFSS Communications and Social Media Best Practices. So, oh, and Aisha, you just came back here. Just so you know, Aisha, we suspended the rules and we're now going to go through discussion items because we weren't sure when you were going to come back. So now going in camera will be after this. So, okay, cool. All right, so I wanted to bring up this discussion item because myself and Ilham, part of our communications team, she wanted to provide some feedback on how we can improve our social media and how we can improve streamlining our work orders going into, for example, Instagram. She wanted to provide feedback and put a reminder to all executives that when you are putting in a work order for a post, just to make sure that our wording and the intention going into the post is student-centered. And she feels that we need to keep putting in more discourse that says we, more collective, and just a student-centered, collective-wise thinking. So going forward, we need to move away from being individualistic and just putting in the more of the we instead of the me. So just keep in mind for everyone for that. Okay, Aisha, you have a direct response?
Yeah, I think it would actually be really beneficial for Ilham to come do a presentation to exec on how that practically looks, like even if it's some kind of like a draft presentation on comms 101 and, you know, kind of like a political framework. So folks have a better idea of how to apply it.
Okay, I can definitely ask her to do that. I know she is already working on a similar project that I've asked her to do that in terms of creating a best practices guideline to give out to the entire members of the society so that they know how to streamline their work orders. So I can double check with her to see if she can apply the work that has already been done to this, bring it to exec, and have a deeper understanding of what to do next. So yeah, thank you for that, Aisha. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone want to add on or move on? No? Okay. Let's move on to item 7.3 on the agenda, which is gondola updates. This was brought forward by Ishana. So Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of the staff members, and obviously we have won the gondola after over 10 years of advocacy. We have such a huge win. So I was talking to Muriel about this, and we were talking about if execs would be in consensus with putting this in the archived points of like, this is something that we've achieved on our website. And kind of just putting out resources for like what kind of like worked in this campaign, and just sharing like what was kind of done, what led up to this win, things like that. So I was just wondering what execs thought about that.
So just for clarification, Ishana, so it's to put this, you know, monumental turning point on our website, essentially in the archive section. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, can I respond?
Yeah, please, please.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically on the website, we have a thing where we have campaigns in progress. So right now the gondola is in the in progress thing. We just want to move it to like, this is done. It's like archived. It's something we won. Because we've done that before with like previous campaigns as well. It's just to like move it, just making sure that execs are in consensus of it and making sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay, thank you, Ishana. Execs, let's hear from you. List yourself. Yes, Judith, go for it.
I just wanted to highlight really quickly that this gondola project was also joined with SFU. So to what extent are we attempting to take credit for this completely? That's my only question, because I don't want it to be a miscommunication as to we did all of this when it was a joint campaign, to the best of my understanding, because this has been talked at SFU side as well, I believe, like for years, about bringing gondola to SFU. So yeah, just want to highlight that to make sure we don't misrepresent what has really gone down behind the scenes.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Judith. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I want to say something similar, but I do want to first say that like I don't want to minimize the amount of advocacy work that has gone into the gondola, because there's been like that is for the starting and initiation point of actually getting things to be approved, right? To actually propose it to people, right? So I want to say that that's like something the SFSS can definitely take credit for, but I do also want to be cautious that I have seen communications in the past that were very strongly worded, where the SFSS was taking primary credit for the gondola, but I do know that there are other external parties that were very heavily involved. So I just want to echo, and also for the record, that there like have been concerns in the past with the SFSS taking maybe too much credit for the gondola, and external groups have expressed dissent about that. So I haven't been directly involved, so I don't know the dynamics around that, but I just want to express this. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ishana, you have a direct response to...
Yeah, I actually listed after Judith, but I can just direct response.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll allow this direct response and then retract your list as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just like replying, of course, like this was a joint campaign. So I can kind of give the timeline on it. So for about 7 years, students really campaigned hard for this. And then for the past like 3 years, SFU like kind of came into it. And of course, like it was like a lot of other external groups too. You'll see I also released a news post, and in that like President Joy Johnson also created a quote, and they talked about how SFU had a side to it. I think they listed like a bunch of other external people. Also, I'm planning like a day of celebration where I'm inviting like past alum, people from SFU itself, because it's obviously like students did a lot of the work, but it also shows that when students and the university come together, like a lot of like change can happen, and it kind of shows people that like, you know, like the university can come too, but also highlighting like the years of work also done before by students. But obviously like giving due diligence, like giving recognition where it is served for SFU.
Okay, thank you. Abby, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to give a shout out to basically one of the main people that really helped this happen, Colin Fowler, my mentor from first year. He was an absolute workhorse for this project, and I hope when this gondola is built, he's the first one taking a ride on this. He advocated for it on many, many different levels, from Senate with me to VPUAA committee, University Academic Affairs Committee. And I'm just really happy for all our commuters, and especially for him, considering all the work he's put into this. So thank you, Colin.
Big up to Colin, that is for sure. Ishana, you have the floor.
Sorry, I think Ella is going after.
Oh, No. Ella had retracted her list, so you are now next on the list.
Never mind. Thank you. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Abby, thanks for bringing that up. Like, Colin is like one of the people I reached out to as well. And also like during this celebration, we just want to make sure that like it's such a huge win. Also in terms of like accessibility as well, because campus is on a mountain. It will make things like so much easier for students, especially during like snow days and stuff. But yeah, just so folks know, like updates on websites and things, and also like email me or just reach out if you have any questions and we can figure things out.
Okay, thank you, Ishana. I'm gonna wrap up this discussion here. Hearing what folks have been saying, I think what we need to see is just a brief overview of what the page would look like. So if it's like, I don't know, like a write-up, for example, of how we're archiving it in the website, like, for example, I don't know, is it like, here's the title, here's what happened, and just to make sure everyone is on the same page, we can, I guess, take a vote to approve it at the next executive committee meeting, if that's what executives would like. Wait, no, that's an old list. That's an old list. How do execs feel about that? I'd like to hear from everyone. I'll just have about the next steps. Okay, sure. And that right up. Yep. Okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, if we can see the write-up, bring it to the next executive committee meeting, we can take a vote on it, and then put it up on the website. That's good. Okay, I see cool from Ishana. I'm gonna assume that is the same for the rest of the executives as well. All right, thank you so much for bringing this discussion item to the table, Ishana. We're now gonna move over to 7.4 on the agenda, which is, I wrote down mental health working group, which was brought forward by Nikki. So Nikki, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Helen. I'm really excited to talk about this because this has been one of my main priorities going into the SFSS and into this role as somebody who has experience of being a counselor before, like a non-executive counselor in the SFSS Council before joining as an executive. I have seen gaps in terms of addressing mental health concerns that may arise from just the nature of the work that we do here, because like it is a high stress environment and it can be very variable in that way. And we have seen examples both in ourselves and also in other people. And and also in terms of like my role, I really wanted to start like a working group centered around mental health and mental well-being for the executive committee and also council. And I have plans on how we like the first steps and what we'll do, but I want to actually work with SFU Health and Counseling and see if we can come up with an agreement for easier access of mental health care through SFU for people that are directly involved in the executive committee and or council because of the nature of our roles. So I wanted to start up a working group for this, and I think that I can probably bring it to council in the next council meeting, but I want to discuss with you guys first. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, but I just want to bring it up as a preliminary thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Abby, you have a direct response. Is this a clarifying question?
Yeah, so Nikki, I wanted to ask if she's aware. I believe Erin Biddlecombe sent us something like this. I don't know if it was some sort of access to a case manager or something. I believe we already get something from SFU. I don't remember what it is, so I would encourage you to check in with Erin Biddlecombe on that.
Okay, great. Yeah, because thank you, Abby. Yeah, because I never got that email. So if she did send something, I'll check, I'll follow up with her on that. But I'm sure that there's, in addition to, I've like worked with case managers, if that is a case, specific case with what we were given access to, there is more that can be done beyond that. So I still do want to start up this working group because there are ongoing, considerations and concerns that we can address in it. So yeah, during our orientation. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so following up with Aaron on that would be great, Nikki. The floor is still open for discussion. I do want to chime in, but I want to give the floor for executives first. Okay, I'm not seeing any movement in the chat, so I'm going to chime in here. Nikki, I think this is a great idea. I will say that, yes, you should bring it to council to make sure that counselors are involved. So do submit it as probably like a motion for the next council meeting. The jot form has already been sent out. The call for agenda items have already been sent out. And I will encourage that this working group, it's not, I don't know, this working group, it's up to you how you want to streamline it. I think I just want to get clarity on whether this is a working group to provide services to students, or is this a working group to provide services internally to leadership within the SFSS? That's the only piece of clarity I'm asking for. Yeah, Nikki, go for it.
Thank you. Yes, this is specifically oriented internally.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying. Bring it to council. I think that will be the best course of action, and just seeing how, you know, whether there's appetite for this, which I am sure there's appetite for this within council. Judith, you have a list?
I think it might be redundant now, but just to clarify, based on like the preamble that we heard when the agenda was being amended, is this working group in order to help like exec and non-exec counselors, or is this specifically for executive counselors? I just want to get some clarity on that.
Nikki wrote in the chat, both exec and non-exec. Okay, awesome. I'm going to just double check if there's any more discussion here. Okay, it doesn't look like it. So yeah, just to wrap this up, Nikki, bring it to council, and I look forward to hearing more about it at the next council meeting. So thank you again for bringing this up. All right, let's now move over to item 7.5 in discussion items, which is, again, I wrote this down as internal communications. Nikki, you had also brought this discussion item to the table. So again, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Helen, again for this. I really appreciate it and the opportunity to present these ideas to you guys. I'm presenting all of these with the idea that to improve our experience here in council as executives, and also for the counselors. So I wanted to propose the formation of a working group for the purpose of improving internal communications. It's a broad term, right? But I can explain kind of what I mean by that. And it's improving. The chief concern is to improve internal communications, I guess, amongst the executive committee as a primary aim, but also a secondary aim is also between the executive committee and council. And this is not like to say, like, point out any person in particular. I just think like there are issues based around not having specific norms set regarding like what are the expectations surrounding communications, how much we are to be kept in the loop with how much like each other is doing and how much is necessary. And I think just having conversations about the scope and also like philosophy surrounding like how much we should be communicating with each other and like when and how to improve, so we're all on the same page with that, I think is like the general aim of the group. And specifically, like I guess for myself, like with my neurodiversities, like I've also like said in the document that was provided in April, I think by Helen, regarding our access needs, I do need to like certain things to be like, I need to be kept in the loop about certain things, and due to my neurodiversities. And like, I think that there's also room for that consideration as well, that like we may all have different communication needs compared to each other. And yeah, like I think just as one concrete example, and it's not to put anyone on the spot, I just think it's because there is a lack of norms, but like I've reached out about like specific things like a few times and haven't gotten responses, and I'm not blaming anyone in particular for that. I think that there are like issues of people being like working, like very much and being really tired, probably from like the amount of work that we all have to do, right? So I think just like clarifying and having a discussion on like how we can improve that going forward, and just like how, so we're all on the same page so nobody feels like hurt or resentful based on them feeling left out. So that's kind of the general idea of it. And I have a proposed plan going forward, but I wanted to see like if this should be like an executive, chiefly like I guess a composition of a working group. Because I think most of the internal communication things are beyond with executives right now, but I think I would also want to include counselors, but I just wanted to get your guys' perspectives on this so it can be as constructive as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Execs, any appetite for discussion? Please list yourself in the chat. Okay. Okay. Ella, go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to just jump in if no execs had any points to speak to. So regarding staff last year, staff had spoken a little bit about wanting to have an internal communications working group, just to get them also a little bit more in the loop. So I guess my one thought would be, in the creation of this, if this is something that the executive want to do, that the terms of reference just be really, the scope of the terms of reference be really tight. Because I know with increased communication within exec, that will trickle down to staff, but staff have mentioned that they would like to also be more in the loop regarding things that happen on the executive level and on the council level. So that was just a piece that I wanted to speak to.
Thank you, Ella. Judith, you have a direct response?
Yeah, I just heard internal working group and it piqued my ears because that is the emailing list that we use for the staff meeting structure working group. And we just met yesterday about that. And they did highlight that executive and council decisions are not communicated to staff. One of the good examples of that apparently is the cancel candidate motion, which many staff were unaware of until this year. And the impacts that it has on our operations and what we can do and what we cannot do. So I completely agree that we should be communicating the decisions before they're made specifically to staff. And if we can't before, then definitely after, because we are looking at the position where council does one thing and staff are absolutely unaware because nobody tells them. So that is definitely something that we're working on right now. And we are putting together a proposal to take to the next staff meeting.
Great, thank you, Judith. Nikki, you've listed yourself again.
Yeah, so I wanted to echo both what Ella and Judith just said. I do really think that there is like definite utility and also an ethical concern, I think, that can be met by including staff, right, with communications. And I think that we can include that also within the terms of reference in this working group. I guess like my question now is, should I bring this like directly to council as well? Or should this be like more of like an executive committee type like a motion? I'm just wondering what would be the best way to proceed with that.
Judith, you have the floor.
Yeah, Nikki, given that, I think you would remember this, the June 11th council meeting and how that situation ended up being. I think council would very much so would appreciate exec finding a way to communicate with each other before we repeat that situation. So you could bring it to council if you want to, though, given that this appears based on what you're saying here, this appears to be an executive niche situation. I think it might be more suitable to leave it at exec and just bring a motion at exec to create the working group, because I'm not sure what council would really do with that, given that it appears council is fine. It appears that it's the exec that do not communicate that well.
Thank you, Judith. Nikki, you have a direct response.
Thanks so much, Judith. This actually, your perspective really helps here. I agree with you. I think I also just state my intention now, like for the record and also for transparency. I will draft a motion. I'll bring it to the next executive committee meeting for us to form this working group, and it'd be primarily among executives, but then staff can also take participate in it as well. And it'll be also within the scope of like staff and exec communications as well. I hope that sounds good.
Okay, that's a good action item. Thank you, Nikki. I'm going to suggest that we end discussion here on this and move on. The next item, item 7.6, I've written it down as increasing student engagement. This is once again brought by Nikki. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, I do really want to state my appreciation for being able to talk at length with these discussion items. Thank you guys for your patience and giving me the space to do this. This particular item, I'm more on the fence about like if it necessitates starting a working group specifically, but I can see utility in doing that with people who are interested. Specifically, I wanted to work with other people who may be interested. So it could be, I guess it does necessitate a working group in that way, to workshop and sit down and really look into investigate the policies surrounding executive and council. So both executive counselors and non-executive counselors in terms of what they are specifically allowed to communicate about the SFSS to the public, because the policies I've been working and on this quite a bit and working through the policies and also talking with BD as well. And there does seem to be a lack of like, I guess like agreement surrounding the extent to which these policies, I guess like have influence over specific actions. It's hard to explain it without giving specifics and going too much into detail right now. So I'm keeping it more brief, but there could be like issues going like with executives and non-executive counselors talking about the SFSS with members of the public. So I wanted to get together with a few people, which could be a working group, to really take a deep dive into these policies and have a discussion surrounding what are the best practices surrounding our individual communications with students and also like on social media, specifically when it pertains to the SFSS, because there is a lack of clarity in policy, I would say, surrounding what exactly we are and are not allowed to say, and people have different interpretations of it from what I've gathered. So I hope that makes sense. I know like that Judith has like a specific interpretation, but I also like talk to other people as well, and everyone says different things. So I think that there is still utility in talking about it. So yeah, thank you.
Judith, you have the floor.
Yeah, because I'm on this email chain along with everybody from Outreach Committee, MBD, and ILHAM. I can speak to this because based on what because I read both of their responses, and I agree with them. And honestly, the situation is, in my opinion, not great, but unfortunately pretty clear. And we do have it in R5 in council policies that we do need to acknowledge that we speak on the behalf of the society when we talk about the society. It's kind of hard to detach our executive personas from our personal personas when we're holding these roles. And that should be acknowledged, because whatever we communicate to the membership, people won't see it as Judith as an individual psychology major. They will see it as Judith VP internal. That's exactly how it's going to be perceived. And my concern isn't necessarily that, because we have seen that last year with the last executive committee and how they spoke about SFU issues and SFSS issues. They spoke pretty freely based on their opinions. My concern is that we have a very different composition of council and very different composition of, I would even say, certain committees who will have very differing opinions as to how we communicate matters to the public. My concern is to keep this executive committee safe, and the best way of doing that is being very, very careful as to what we say in public. Because an R5 violation, if a certain committee deems it's an R5 violation, and if council agrees it's an R5 violation, could result in censures or even recommended impeachment. So that's my concern. That's something that should be kept in mind moving forward, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Nikki, you've listed yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Judith, and thank you, Helen, for giving me the floor to speak. I think like on this issue, I've also read into the policy like very closely and had direct conversations with individuals about the policy. And there is like an interpretive factor, like based on like, it doesn't actually explicitly say in the policy that when we speak, we'll always be speaking on the behalf of society. It's more of like a, I guess, like a theoretical kind of thing, right? That like people will see us and like associate us with the SFSS, so it's hard to speak as an individual, right? It's more of like a theoretical thing, and I think that I can agree with that to an extent. But what I do know about policy and laws generally is that you can't actually create like I guess like an overreaching like statement based on that for the actions of everyone, because there are like certain things that you can't actually like legislate. And so there might be, if we look into it, there might be something actually surrounding that in our federal laws about that. But that's like why I do want to actually look into it closer in a working group, because I know that like for us, and specifically I know like with Helen, Judith, Abby, you guys have all spoken about transparency, right? With like when you guys were campaigning, and also with the SFSS, right? And I also have like as my primary goal with the SFSS. So I do think that we should like work on and talk about a way that we can be as transparent as possible with keeping this in mind, because we don't want to risk, you know, having issues with like an R5 violation for having good intentions, for being transparent, right? So like, I think that this is a good, prudent and precautionary measure, right? For us to actually look into the policies ahead of time. And sure, like there might be agreements and disagreements based on how clear and how set it already is, right? But like policy is always, there's always interpretive factors there, right? So it would be good to actually like analyze what exactly are the interpretive factors and how valid they are too, right? That's always a part of policy analysis. And I think that this is quite important for us to do. I would be happy to lead something on it. I've already been working on it individually. But yes, and I do want to say what Judith said in the chat, counselors shall recognize their lack of individual authority when engaging with the public and the media.
Nikki, I'm sorry, like, I'm sorry. I need you to conclude your thought.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to address that, like, there is still interpretive. So like, I think that there would be utility in creating a working group in this. And that's what I wanted to bring forward in the discussion.
Okay. Let's wrap up discussion here because we have one more discussion item to go to, and then I want to give everyone a break before we go in camera. Nikki, what I'm going to suggest is that you bring something to the table for us executives to look at, because it's personally myself, I'm finding it very hard to follow along with this. Plus also considering that we have policies in place that we must strictly follow at all times. So if you can bring something, engage with all the other executives to gauge our thoughts on it. Not even a presentation, even like a briefing note of that sort, for something for us to read over, that would be very helpful, so we can understand what your train of thought here is. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. All right, let's move on to our final discussion item. This is item 7.7, Canadian Federation of Engineering Student Events. Is that correct, Abby?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all right, awesome. So again, this is brought by Abby. So Abby, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this really brief again, because I think we've gone over time on what we were expecting for our discussion items. Essentially, I was approached by the president of the Canadian Federal. Hold on, I'm just going to pull it up. I'm just going to pull up the email. Give me 1 second. The Canadian Federation of Engineering Students, and essentially what they're asking for is, and this would have to go to council because they are asking for a monetary contribution of $7,000. They want that and the opportunity to use our ballroom to hold an event, essentially known as the Canadian Federation of Engineering Students President's Meeting, which is essentially some sort of networking event where, it's a conference where the presidents can kind of get to know each other and share ideas and stuff. And it's also led to kind of improve the student experience in terms of leadership, professionalism, ethics, and then kind of communication. So in terms of the people who are involved with this, they are all SFU students who are in terms of the people who brought this to us, but the organization itself is not an SFU organization, which puts it in a little bit of a grayer area. And at least in terms of benefits that they've listed to us, they've essentially said that us giving them the money will allow the SFU Burnaby campus to be promoted across 43 universities, and it allows student leaders to network and basically to promote our brand a little bit. I will forward some documents regarding this to you all with a bit of more of a budget breakdown and all. Essentially, they want $7,000 for their other various rooms, and considering other, they've gotten investments from other areas as well that have paid for their other direct deposits they had to put for the spaces they needed. And then the other thing they wanted, obviously, as I mentioned, would be the use of ballroom, the use of the use of the ballroom for free. But right now they've gotten $5,000 from the Faculty of Engineering Science, and they've gotten $2,000 in terms of advertising revenue from another company, and what they want again are asking us for $7,000. So this is annoying. This is on my desktop, not on my laptop, so I can't transfer this here. But what I'll do is I'll forward the email to you all with the details to that. And again, this would be something council would have to consider at because it's $7,000, but I wanted to just flag it here for transparency's sake now.
Okay, thank you, Abby. So just to clarify, you are just letting the executive know that you're bringing this as a motion to council at the next council meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, I just wanted to get everyone's kind of initial thoughts and all that. I know I didn't give the greatest amount of detail there, but if anyone has any thoughts right off the bat, just because it isn't an SFU organization, but there are SFU students involved, and obviously the Engineering Student Society would get benefit from this. I just kind of wanted to hear what everyone thought about that. And if there's like incredible distaste to it, or people are very, very much against it, then perhaps I could just go back to them with that we wouldn't be interested in it. And it is obviously $7,000. That's like no amount to sneeze at, of course. It's not a massive amount, but we should be thinking about how we're spending student money, of course.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what specifically the $7,000 will be for. Like, will we get to know that?
So I just forwarded the, sorry.
Okay, I'm assuming, Abby, you need clarity for that question.
No, I was just apologizing because I spoke out of order.
Okay, Abby, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just forwarded an email where they kind of gave us sort of budget breakdown, but it's a general budget breakdown. It's not specifically where our $7,000 contribution would go. Yeah, so stuff like rooms, meeting spaces, food. They have some sort of campsite, I guess, which is their base camp they're planning on using. And then all sorts of merchandise and all that, looks like. Yeah, it should be in your email now. Please let me know if you guys got it.
Okay, so it looks like we have, there's 8 pages to read through. Yeah, this definitely wasn't enough time, Abby, for us to have, I think, a full flush discussion on it. but I will flag to the executive committee, just looking at the attachment here, there is a letter of support drafted by the SFSS during the the 2020-2021 year, executive year or board year, since we had a board at that time. So I don't know how other executives feel right now, since again, we need more time to read over this information. But Abby, I think your best bet would be to just put this as put this in the council jot form, bring it to council and see what they have to say. Abby, you have the floor.
Yeah, that was the plan. I just wanted to see if anyone was like vehemently against this. Obviously, again, you guys haven't had a whole lot of time to look at this. This is going to drop on me last minute as well. But if anyone was like vehemently against this, or we had some sort of poor history with this organization by any chance or anything like that, I just wanted to know that in advance. But it sounds like there isn't anything like that at the moment. We don't. Perfect.
Okay, cool. I would suggest to our working relationship with them is strong. Great. Okay, that's good knowing. Thanks, Ella. I'm going to suggest as well to executives, if you have any thoughts or concerns, also raise them with Abby, since he brought this discussion item to the table. And yeah, I'm excited to see what council has to say on it. So thank you, Abby, for bringing this through. If there's no more discussion, looks like there's no more discussion. I'm going to suggest that we now take, let's take a break. Let's come back at 12. I'm going to be generous here and say 12:15 because I most certainly need a break. So let's come back at 12:15 and we will once we return, we're going to go in camera. So we'll see you all then. Stretch your legs and see you at 12:15. All right, welcome back from our break. We're going to continue down the agenda, but before doing so, just in case, because we still have quite a bit to get through, I am going to move to extend the meeting until 1:30 p.m. Again, just in case, I doubt we'll go that far. But if in the case we need to go overtime, at least there's some buffer room for us. So I'm moving to extend the meeting until 1:30 p.m. today. May I have someone second this?
External.
VP External seconds. I'm going to, I don't need discussion for this. So seeking unanimous consent, if you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, extending the meeting until 1:30 p.m. is carried. All right, we're now going to go with the agenda. We're looking at the new item 8 in the agenda, which is in camera. Item 8.1 reads, the motion reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. May I have a mover for this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance moves and someone to second.
External.
VP External seconds. Going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent, if you wish to dissent, please do so by raising your hand. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Okay, so what I will be doing is I'm going to stop the recording, open a breakout room for us, and we will go in camera and we will spend definitely some time in there because we have 2 items to cover. So I'm stopping the recording now. All right. Hi, everyone. We just moved out of an in-camera session, but are still needing to spend more time there. We are back ex-camera so we can extend the meeting and then move back in camera to finish up our discussions before we come back ex-camera again and finish the rest of our agenda. So with that said, I am going to move to extend the meeting until, oh, right, I need to move ex-camera first. You're right, Judith, thank you. Okay. let's quickly do this. So we have item 9 on the, actually, no, I'm just, sorry, Judith or Abby, do I need to amend the agenda to add a section to move X camera? Or can I just say I am moved to?
It should be on the agenda by default when you're adding camera. So all you would say, move, you would say just move X camera, and the motion would be resolved to move X camera for the remainder of the meeting, and then you would just do the normal moving seconding part.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is item 9 on the agenda, and it's the move to go X camera. Motion reads, be it resolved to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. Can I get a mover?
VP Internal.
VP Internal moves. I will second this, opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, taking this to a vote, seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using your raise hand function. Seeing none, this motion is carried. I'm now going to move to extend the meeting until 2:15 p.m. Hopefully we don't use up all that time, but we have 15 minutes for extra buffer time. Can I have someone second this?
VP Internal.
VP Internal seconds. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function. Seeing none, this motion is carried. We now need to move in camera again to finish up our discussions. So I'm going to add in a section. This is going to be section 10. The new section 10 on the agenda, which is to move in camera. Once again, the motion reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. I will move this. May someone second this, please? VP University seconds. Opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function. Seeing none, this motion is carried. I am now going to open up another breakout room again. So please hang on. I'm stopping the recording right now. All right. Hello, everyone. We are back once again. And we are now going to move to go X camera. I believe I need to amend the agenda to add a section to go X camera again. So this would be I believe a new section 10 in the agenda to go X camera. I believe it's section 10. The new section 10 will read, be resolved to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. May I have someone move this motion?
VP Finance.
VP Finance moves and someone second.
VP Internal.
VP Internal seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we will take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. We are now going to go over to the new section 11 in our agenda, which is new business. And it's the last part of our agenda for today. I have brought a motion titled Tasking of the Executive Committee Revisions and the Recommendation of the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan to Council. Submitted by myself. The motion reads, whereas the contents of the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan has been presented to the Executive Committee within an in-camera session, whereas the current 2022-2023 Executive Committee has yet to provide thorough input or recommendations in tightening up the scope and direction of the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan, be it resolved that the Executive Committee be tasked to provide input and any necessary edits of the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan. Be it further resolved, the SFSS President convene working sessions with members of the Executive Committee and any invited management staff to tighten the scope and direction of the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan. Be it further resolved that the Executive Committee determine when to formally recommend the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan to Council, insofar that the Executive Committee has approved its revisions to the 2021-2026 SFSS Strategic Plan by the next scheduled Executive Committee meeting. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP Internal.
VP Internal moves and someone to second?
University.
Okay, VP University, I am now going to open the floor for discussion. And before catching anyone on the speakers list, I again want to remind executives, everyone and anyone who is invited in camera, the contents of our in-camera discussion must not be disclosed ex-camera. We must focus on the scope and solely focus on how we want to move forward with the strategic plan. So I'm opening the floor for discussion now. Please list yourself in the chat. Okay, Judith, you have the floor.
Yeah, I am completely in favor of this motion. I definitely think there is room for improvement and outreach. So completely in favor. Thank you for bringing this forward, Helen.
All right, thank you, Judith. Nikki, you have the floor.
I want to say I'm also very much so in favor of this motion with the values of transparency going forward for all of us. I think that it's great to be able to provide input. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Floor is still open for discussion. Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just what I want to say is like just making sure going forward, centering like equity in everything that we do, and especially in what exec wants to bring if like the motion does get passed. But yeah, I just want to make sure that yeah, we center equity in what we bring to in terms of revision and what has been done. But yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you. Abby, you have the floor.
Quick thing, just want to concur with Nikki and Judith in ensuring everyone's voices are heard. And we are transparent with the student body and listening to what the student body wants. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. I'm going to ask if any discussion is left for this. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent for this. Seeking unanimous consent, if you wish dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. And that's it. That's the end of our, actually, it's not the end yet. We still have a few more. I'm just ready to have all of us adjourn. All right, all right. Let's now move over to, I have announcements. Yes, I have announcements for everyone. Okay, we're gonna move over to item 12 of the agenda now, which is titled announcements. Let me just open my notes here. Okay. Under announcements, we have item 12.1. It's titled Leave of Absence for the VP Equity and Sustainability. This is just to notify to any membership who is going to be watching this recording later down the road that the VP Equity has requested to take a leave of absence for 2 weeks, and she will be returning back to work on Monday, July 25th of this year. Last things last, we have our last announcement for the day. And that is item, sorry, I'm just doing so many things at once here. My apologies, folks. Our last announcement, my apologies. Our last announcement is titled 12.2, next scheduled executive committee meeting. This is just to remind all executives and our management invited staff that our next executive committee meeting will be held on Friday, July 22nd from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The only reason why we started today is because we had a fire drill. I'm just sorry, you have a point of information, Nikki?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the potential, I think there's a conflict with meeting banking people in the calendar for that next executive committee meeting. I sent an email about it, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about that.
I will take a look into it, but I haven't seen this email. I will look into it after this meeting, but I am highly suggesting that executives please stick to this time that has been scheduled. Okay, Aisha, you have a direct response or a clarifying question?
No, just a direct response. Just an update for folks that our Scotiabank folks, our banking personnel would like to have a tour of the building and meet exec on that day. They're only available that day. And so we can kind of pick the time, but they had suggested that time, and they wanted to hand over our file to another personnel because our account manager that we have currently is also going on parental leave. So they wanted to take that as an opportunity to introduce the next person to us. And so that was going to be in person. Yeah, Nikki's right. In person on the 22nd in the sub.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm seeing the time 10 to 11. Okay, thank you, Nikki. With that being said, it looks like the entirety of the executive committee has been invited to this. So with that being said, I am open to moving the time, but we need to have another executive committee meeting that day. So I will ask executives to please be flexible with your calendars, as we may be having an executive committee meeting. Actually, not maybe. We will be having an executive committee later on in the day, within the working hours between 9 to 5 p.m. All right. Thank you all. Let's go over to adjournment. So item 14, it reads adjournment. The motion reads be resolved to adjourn the meeting at 2 p.m. on the dot. Do you have a mover for this?
University.
VP University moves. Someone to second.
VP internal.
VP internal seconds. Opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Executives, management, staff, thank you so much for being here for today. We went overtime by a lot, but I appreciate everyone's efforts in being here and everyone being present. Take care and we'll see you later.